Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start at this moment. Good afternoon to our honored guest, Dr. Masniza Sairi, Deputy Director, Engineering Research Center ER, Malaysian Agricultural Research and Development Institute, MARDI. Our distinguished speakers, guests, ladies and gentlemen, and those who are joining us virtually. So you can see we got a few cameras here, so they've got some people who are watching us through the gadgets. A warm welcome to Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia, Ag-Volution for the Future, Malaysia, happening in conjunction with Malaysia International Food and Beverage Trade Show 2022. Can you please give yourselves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your host for today. And ladies and gentlemen, Ag-Volution for the Future is one in a series of regional roadshows in a lead up to the inaugural Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia AFTEA event happening in Singapore. Today's session aims to spotlight Malaysia in steering the agri-food technology landscape, as well as support regional players, local enterprises, and startups on their digitalization journey to build a vibrant agri-food ecosystem in Asia. As Malaysia looks forward achieving sustainable growth in the economy, the agri-food sector will see plentiful opportunities to reimagine processes like growing, harvesting, and manufacturing with emerging technologies. While today's highlight, ladies and gentlemen, touches on sessions such as, number one, identifying and addressing agricultural trends and challenges in Malaysia. Number two, applications of new agri-food technologies in the local F&B context. And number three, opportunities to accelerate the Malaysian agri-food industry with technology. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome Mr. James Boy, Senior Vice President, Markets, Constella, to begin with an opening remark. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. James.
Dr. Masniza Sari, Deputy Director, Malaysian Agriculture Research and Development Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you, and a very warm welcome to the very first stop of Ag-Volution for the Future, which is our curated regional roadshow series for Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia, a Constella event with international partner DLG, which represents the Agriculture Society in Germany. Today, our world is facing an increasing global food challenge. What we are seeing is a K-shaped phenomenon. With a growing middle class, consumers are prepared to spend more for quality food, especially those that are tasty, healthy, and safe. However, the growing demand for meat and seafood is also adding to carbon emissions. Yet food security remains an issue as the world's population grows. Around 800 million people go to bed hungry every night. And rising temperature, I'm sure you feel it too, have also impacted crop yield and also further downstream impact to the poor. It is most timely that we are gathered here today to look at sustainable food production, both to meet the demands of a growing middle class and to provide food security for all. The opportunities are vast. Now, in Asia alone, food expenditure is expected to double from US $4 million trillion today to US $8 million trillion by 2030. And half of this increase in Asia is attributed to, number one, consumer spending. Number two, the other half is to feed an increasing population. To meet these food needs, an estimated total investment of US $1.5 trillion is needed by 2030, which is not too far away. The thing is that we cannot simply invest in more of the same, because there is a limitation on land and acceptable carbon emissions for food production. Also, the consumer palette for the middle class is also evolving. We must innovate to break these current constraints to deliver value to consumers and ensure food security for all. Now the opportunity is right now where we are, and therefore we will be launching the first edition of Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia in October later this year in Singapore. This is the region-focused exhibition platform for emerging as well as established industry players in the region to launch, showcase, and test bed their innovations and solutions. The expo will be part of the Singapore International Agri-Food Week, which is a series of events that will put a spotlight on innovation in supply chain resilience, urban food systems, sustainable proteins, and affordable nutrition. Now, coming back to where we are now, today, agriculture is the third largest contributor to Malaysia's GDP. With Malaysia as our first stop of our roadshow series, we want to interest and inspire corporations, investors, SME, and entrepreneurs like all of you to join this movement to change the region's agriculture industries with technology and innovation. We invite you all to participate as an exhibitor or to visit the event. And to start off with this dialogue, we will discuss and share some food for thought with our speakers and panelists on how we can further and advance food innovation for Malaysia and for the region in Asia. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. James. Can you please give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Well, to know more about the Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia 2022, we do have a little video for you to watch. So sit back and enjoy the video. Let's give the round of applause for the production crew for that video. Indeed, we would love to see all of you in Singapore from the 26th to the 28th of October. So invitations are now sent out to you from me through my voice. So guys, you can go and register yourself for the Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia. Now moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and pleasure to welcome our guest of honor, Dr. Masniza Sairi, Deputy Director of Engineering Research Center, ER, Malaysian Agricultural Research and Development Institute, MARDI, to deliver her keynote address. And it is about from sustainability, resiliency to technological advancement, paving the path towards Malaysia Agri-Food Tech 2030. Can you please give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to all, honorable guests and speakers, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to thank the organizer, Constella and the LG. I am very grateful to be invited to be a speaker in this eventful AFTEA 2022 Malaysia Roadshow in conjunction with MIFB. I'm Masniza from Engineering Research Center, MARDI, and today I will talk on from sustainability, resiliency to technological advancement, paving the path towards Malaysia Agri-Food Technology 2030. Okay, without further ado, I will start my presentation with some issues on the food security. Back. Back. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in 2021, Malaysia was ranked 39 out of 130 countries in Global Food Security Index by the Economist Intelligence Unit. And in 2020, 19 items under the selected agricultural commodities recorded self-sufficiency ratio more than 100%. And this value is actually lesser than the items recorded in 2019, which are 25 items. And also Malaysia reported imported value of 55.5 billion ringgit of food product versus 33.8 billion of export. This led to an increase in the trade deficit of food product amounted 21.7 billion ringgit. And in 2022, we face a problem of food crisis in which we have high prices and shortages of fruit products. And the recent one is the shortages of chicken supply. As you can see in the images, the livestock and fisheries reported import dependency ratio higher as compared to the other crops such as fruit and vegetables. Okay, some issues on the food production. The high cost in fertilizer, pesticide and herbicide, and recently there are reports saying that the fertilizer cost increased about 30 to 50 ringgit, and this one will lead to an increase in the vegetable and fruit prices. And input costs in paddy production also increased about 15 to 30%. This one was reported in 2012 about the 15 to 30%. And then we have low productivity, labor intensive and aging farmers. And in Malaysia, 70% of the farmers are aged 60 years and above. We found out that the youngsters are not really interested with agriculture, as this job is considered as a 3D job: dirty, difficult and dangerous. And we have an issue of global warming, climate change, such as drought and flood, and competing water resources used for residential, domestic and agriculture. We have issue on small fragmented land holding, which is not suitable for machineries, and also low level of technology adoption and automation. And we also have issue on reduced land area due to agricultural land was transformed into plantation area and also residential area. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in Malaysia, to ensure the agro-food sector remains significant and relevant in the national socio-economic development, the government has developed policies and regulations such as National Agro-Food Policy, NAP 2.0, National Food Security Action Plan 2021 to 2025, and also National Fourth Industrial Revolution 4IR policy. The NAP 2.0 focused on the modernization and development of the agro-food sector, enhancing national food security, improving productivity, revenue and quality of life of the products. And it supports the National Development Agenda and current policies including Shared Prosperity Vision 2030, Malaysia 5-Year Development Plan, National Fourth Industrial Revolution 4IR policy, and also Malaysia Digital Economy Blueprint. And in this NAP 2.0, there are 5 key policy thrusts, and policy thrust number 1 is to embrace modernization and smart agriculture. And it is divided into 4 key subsectors, such as paddy and rice, fruit and vegetables, livestock, and also fisheries and aquaculture. We go to the policy thrust number 1, embrace modernization and smart agriculture. The use of technology can contribute to an increase in quality and quantity of the crop yield, thus increasing productivity. And the driving modernization is also in tandem with national aspiration and in Malaysian development plan to embark the nation's value producing industries to Industry 4.0 with the agro-food sector. There are a few strategies such as intensifying research and development and commercialization and innovation in catalyzing agro-food sector, increase the adoption of technology and automation in agro-food sector, create conducive ecosystem for R&D and C&I, and also intensifying innovation program and activity to support advancement of the agro technology. In National Food Security Plan 2021 to 2025, there are 5 core, 15 strategies and 96 initiatives with the objective to increase internal resources and diversify import sources, increase private and population involvement in the food system, ensuring the availability of safe food at affordable prices and a healthy eating style, and also ensuring the country's preparedness in facing the food security crisis. And in National Fourth Industrial Revolution Policy, there are 4 policy thrusts which are equip the rakyat with 4 IR knowledge and skill sets, forge a connected nation through digital infrastructure development, future-proof regulation to be agile with technological changes and accelerate 4IR technology innovation and adoption. Modernization and smart agriculture, or Agriculture 4.0, it offers the most extensive and precise support to farmers in decision-making process related to their activity and the relationship with other parties in the supply chain to increase the economic, environmental, social sustainability of the agricultural process. And Agriculture 4.0 use the most innovative technologies such as drones, sensors, Internet of Things, big data, artificial intelligence, and cloud. Now, I would like to present research that was conducted in Mardi on Agriculture 4.0. And the first research is on the application of Agriculture 4.0 in paddy production. The technology caters from land preparation, water management, nutrient management, crop monitoring, harvest and post-harvest management, and logistic and marketing, and also big data. We have precision farming for paddy production. And water management, we have water level sensors. In land preparation, we have technologies on soil sensors, land leveling system, soil properties mapping, and so on. In seed sowing, we have technologies on variable rate technology for seeding. And in crop management, we have technologies on drone for mapping and spraying, variable rate technology for fertilizer and soil sense nutrient management, and also early warning system for pest and disease detection. And for harvesting, we have yield monitoring sensors and yield prediction. Using the variable rate technology in fertilizer, the fertilizer input could be reduced about 15 to 25%, and the labor could be reduced up to 50%. So in this slide, this is the video showing the technologies that was developed by Mardi in our research. We have the VRT, or variable rate technology seed application system. We have VRT for fertilizer, and the precision farming package technology. We have also research on driverless tractor. This is for paddy production. Okay, in Mardi, we also have research on greenhouse agro-robotic, which is agro-robotic gantry system for crop management in controlled environment greenhouse. This system is equipped with harvester robots, IoT, environmental monitoring and irrigation system, to produce high quality premium crops. And at this moment, our research is focusing on tomato. And the robots differentiate between matured and immatured tomatoes for the harvesting processes. Okay, we also have plant factory and indoor farming, which is a controlled environment structure with automated fertilization through computerized control or Internet of Things, LED lighting, air conditioning, and tiered hydroponics. This is to overcome the issue on chemical residue on crop products and overcome water and soil pollution from conventional agriculture. And the system has been proven to increase yield about 5 to 10 times as compared to the conventional. And this system is environmentally friendly cropping method. And with this technology, we plant premium crops such as salad, and we have current research to plant fruity vegetables such as strawberry. And I can see both here also implementing the same concept of indoor farming. And the plant factory for the IoT environmental monitoring system, it has the sensor for temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide, and velocity, and so on. Okay, for R&D, commercialization, and innovation to encourage alternative agricultural practices, the research the technology can be divided into 9 technology readiness level, and research institute like MIFB, we always engage with the stage number 4, technology validation in the lab until system demonstration in real world. And in conducting research, we receive R&D grant fund from various agencies such as Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia and Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. And the grant from Ministry of Higher Education basically covers the fundamental research, exploratory research, prototype development, transdisciplinary and long-term. And for the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, the budget or the grant covers applied innovation, development fund and bridging fund. Next. In commercializing the developed agriculture 4.0 technology, it is conducted via department and agencies under Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industries. We have extension agencies. We also have AgroBank to provide loan for the IR 4.0 technology for interested entrepreneur. The commercialization also conducted by the industries, research institute, universities, and also by Malaysia Digital Economic Corporation MDEC, which is an agency under the Ministry of Communication and Multimedia. Okay, as a conclusion, NAP 2.0 is formulated with vision to develop a sustainable, resilient and technology-based agro-food sector in driving economic growth, improving the well-being of the people, and prioritizing food security and nutrition. Agriculture 4.0 technology, it is potential to benefit the whole supply chain and will play a greater role in transforming the agriculture industry to improve food security, and private sector industry players to collaborate with the government in spearheading the development of the agro-food sector towards a competitive and modern sector. With that, I would like to thank you, thanks all of you for listening to my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mas Niza. We'd like to invite you back to your seat. Thank you. Indeed, we're looking forward where Malaysia will be a leader in agri-food, and of course, we're looking at 2030. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to call upon a familiar face because we met each other this morning as well. And ladies and gentlemen, Before that, we'd like to say a few things first. So while the pandemic has hit agri-food supply chain hard, it has also provided the opportunity to closely inspect the agri-food ecosystem. Different methods to encourage agri-food tech innovation have been uncovered here in Malaysia as well as across the globe. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to invite the next speaker, Ms. Christine Gold, founder and Chief Executive Officer of Thought for Food Foundation, who will be talking about building a sustainable, inclusive, and resilient agri-food tech ecosystem. Can you please help me welcome her on stage?
Is there a clicker? Perfect. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It is such a pleasure and honor to be here. I hope you've all had the chance to visit the Thought for Food Pavilion and the amazing startups that are showcasing their innovative solutions that are needed now more than ever. I'm really excited to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart, which is the concept of ecosystems that can drive sustainable, inclusive, and resilient innovation for food systems. Ecosystems are the future. Gone are the days of monolithic behemoth, one-size-fits-all solutions. Now it is about working together in networks and finding ways to become greater than the sum of our parts. And it's very exciting that Thought for Food, as a global organization with a network of over 30,000 young people in 180 plus countries, has really been able to collaborate with local innovators here on the ground in Malaysia and across the region. I think we all know by now that it is code red for humanity. This was a language that was used in the most recent IPCC report. Of course, they were referring to climate change, but it's important to remember that food is climate. It is one of the biggest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. Food is also, at the heart of many of the solutions that we need to solve the climate crisis. But of course, climate change is accelerated by many of the challenges that we're also facing due to environmental destruction, food waste, and of course, malnutrition and hunger, which is on the rise. Just yesterday, UNICEF released their State of Global Food Insecurity report, and the numbers are on the rise for the first time in 5 years, and they suspect that they will further increase by 2030, putting us off course for achieving our UN Sustainable Development Goals. Also, there are about 11% of people globally who are facing severe food insecurity. This is a tragic situation that will have ripple effects throughout all parts of our societies, economies, development, and of course, the people who will suffer most are the poor and vulnerable. Last year, I had the chance to be appointed to the UN Advisory Committee for the Food Systems Summit. When we held our meeting in September in New York, none of us ever suspected that we would be facing one of the biggest threats to our food system after COVID, which is, of course, the conflicts ongoing around the world. But most recently, we have the Ukraine-Russia situation. As two major agricultural powerhouses with major exports around the world, this is, again, creating dire situations that cannot be ignored. And of course, in this context, it's very easy for countries to think about reverting back to national interests. And we are seeing that many people are focusing on export controls. That's happened, of course, here in Malaysia. And we've also seen that national food security has once again gained priority agendas in government plans. It is very important to remember at this time that we are facing planetary challenges, and as humanity, we are connected at the global level. And so even though we do need to address our national food security issues, we can accelerate our innovation efforts and the impact we are able to make in our home countries through global collaboration. And that is what Thought for Food is all about. Where does Malaysia stand in this context? Well, of course, Malaysia has, amazing climatic conditions, a surging youth population, and biodiverse, rich ecosystems. But the country still remains, as you know, a net food importer. And this is something that local innovation can help to solve going forward. We're also seeing that Malaysia, like many of the partners across Southeast Asia, are at the front lines of climate change impact. So we're seeing rising temperatures are having impacts on crop yields, on farmer livelihoods, and increasing the prevalence of disease that can, really affect the productivity for long term. And Malaysia faces a high prevalence of malnutrition and obesity. As mentioned, the numbers are getting more stark in the face of the conflict and COVID challenges that we are collectively facing. And again, this is particularly impacting poor and vulnerable populations. But in this context, I'm not all doom and gloom, because Thought for Food is about solutions. And in this context, we actually are in a powerful moment in time. For the first time, of course, we have all of those macro global trends that I mentioned, climate change, resource sustainability coming to the fore. We also have very powerful technologies that are becoming cheaper and easier to use by more people in more places. We're seeing too that there's more empowerment of consumers. People are interested in understanding the health and nutrition of their food choices. They're interested in understanding how their food choices can impact in a positive way the growers that are producing them. And most importantly for my organization is the demographic shifts. We have the largest youth population of all time alive today. 1.8 billion people are between the ages of 18 and 40. And we have over 200 million of those young people living here in Southeast Asia. In today's young people, not only do you have a rising consciousness for better food, but you also have innovators who are equipped with mindsets, tools, and technologies who can create true transformation. And this is a very exciting thing. And luckily, we have seen the investment world wake up to the opportunity that food and ag represents. This trajectory of investment follows exactly the lifespan of my organization, Thought for Food. Back in 2013, 2014, food and ag wasn't really the exciting investment space that it is today. But what we saw in 2021 was that investments were raised to over $51 billion. And that was an 85% increase from the year before. So investment, this is an exciting place to be. And as mentioned, young people are really the key drivers of a lot of this innovation and market shifts. And we call this next generation innovation. I'll kind of run through these slides quickly, but I did want to highlight the fact that food systems are not just about agriculture or food. They touch upon all types of complex and interrelated systems, including food and agriculture, land use and forestry, and waters and oceans. And when you think about the possible solution spaces in these areas, they are truly limitless. So you think about food and agriculture, you can think about how food is produced, you can think about how that food is transported, how it's packaged, how it's consumed, and what happens with the waste. All of those areas have so many rich innovation opportunities that can be tapped into. And of course, they can also be driven by some very exciting new types of business models that focus on circular economy and inclusivity. In the forestry and land use space, you also see that, so much of the food we grow is dependent on things like pollinators and ecosystems, and how those can be ripe for innovation. Recently, I was in Chicago, and I actually was part of a historic moment. It was the issuance of the first carbon credits at scale to farmers for the role that they play in sequestering GHG in soils. This is an exciting opportunity that we're seeing happening for forests and tropical areas, and is a potential huge opportunity for Southeast Asia to look into. Oh, hope I didn't go forward, sorry. Apologies. And of course, in the area of oceans and waterways, last week was the UN Oceans Conference. There's so much potential in aquaculture, both in the sea as well as in ponds and waterways. We have kelp and seaweed and macro and micro algae that can provide biomaterials, food sources, and labor for growers, especially women and indigenous farmers. So there's just limitless potential when you think about all of these spaces. And Thought for Food actually runs, what just happened? Okay. The largest and most diverse innovation challenge in the industry called the Thought for Food Challenge. We've been running this for the past 8 years. And as you can see here in 2021, we had over 5,000 participants from 120 countries take part. This is a snapshot of some of the innovation trends that we're seeing come through. What really gets me excited is that, in the top solution spaces, these are spaces that can really make a transformative impact on the different parts of the food system. And what we're seeing too is that innovators are leveraging cutting edge technologies, whether that be AI, machine learning, synthetic biology, cellular agriculture approaches, fermentation, robotics, and automation, and integrating these to create holistic solutions that can have a positive impact. And that leads me to this quarter, which is about next gen approaches that focus on actually leveraging the mindset and value systems that today's young people represent through more openness, collaboration, and finding ways, again, to be greater than the sum of their parts. And this is how ecosystems in nature thrive, and this is how ecosystems for innovation will also thrive. Malaysia has a huge opportunity at your doorstep. You have the chance to leapfrog ahead of more established markets, to be a leader and an epicenter for innovation here in Southeast Asia. And we're excited to actually be part of that journey. Malaysia has a great talent pool, top universities, surging youth population, and an enabling ecosystem that can really allow innovation to accelerate quickly and make a huge impact both here in Malaysia and around the world. And that's where an organization like Thought for Food comes in. We've established our regional hub here in Malaysia, really to engage, accelerate, and invest in these next generation of solutions. This is the world's most important industry, and what we've done is unite a global community who are focused on collaborating and innovating together towards the shared goals of shaping better, nourishing food systems for the 10 billion people that are expected to live on our planet by 2050. As I mentioned, we've built our regional hub. The idea with the regional hub, it's based in Kuala Lumpur. We're here, we run innovation challenges, we support local startups, we connect them to industry partners, to events, and we also really are here to position Malaysia as a global frontrunner. We help global startups to launch and scale here. We also provide opportunities for local startups to gain global exposure so that they can gain the recognition and opportunities around the world. One of the things that unites our community is a digital ecosystem that we've created called the TFF Digital Labs. On this, we have all kinds of tools and resources for entrepreneurs at various stages of their life cycle. It's truly an end-to-end innovation engine. So we have expert-led masterclasses from leaders at the United Nations, from the Rockefeller Foundation, from the World Bank and other global organizations. We also have community-generated peer-to-peer learning modules around everything from vertical farming to plant-based proteins to how to build and launch a startup that is consumer-facing. And of course, this is really built not just to be another platform because we have so many platforms out there. It's really a next-gen collaboration tool. And so we have on-demand access to mentors and resources, and it's really an ever-growing pool of knowledge and a community that's collaborating. So do check that out if you have the chance. The website is there. And these are just some of the partners that we have the opportunity to work with. And again, for Malaysia, we're able to open up doors to these partners all over the world, again, to help Malaysian startups to lead and succeed in the market, and of course, to connect our partners to opportunities in the market here. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Ms. Christine. Now, ladies and gentlemen, moving forward to our panel discussion at this moment on the topic, the real change maker, cultivating agri-food security and sustainability with innovative agri-food tech. And ladies and gentlemen, I am going to introduce our moderator for this afternoon. And our moderator comes with 30 years of experience in sustainability consulting. It is none other than Ms. Pang Oi Cheng, Executive Director, Sustainability KPMG Malaysia, and she'll be taking the lead for this discussion. Ms. Pang?
This one is for me. This one? Okay.
Joining her on stage, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Mr. Ng Sai Kit, founder director of Autumn Ventures. Can you please give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Next, we've got Miss Eleanor Chong, Chief Operations Officer from Sunway X Farms. Next, we've got Miss Anna Teo, co-founder and Group Chief Executive Officer from Hernan Corporation, Senja Berhad. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got Mr. Navin Sanathambi, Head of AgTech, Sectorial Pilots and Drone Tech Ecosystem Development Division, Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, Senja Berhad, AMDAC. So ladies and gentlemen, these are your panels. Can you please give them a round of applause? So now, ladies and gentlemen, I will give it to Ms. Pang.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take off my mask for a moment. Yeah. Helps clear. Is it clearer now? Right. Excellent. All right. So today's topic is going to be very interesting. We're going to talk a little bit. For the panel discussion, the topic will be focusing on food security, sustainability, and the marriage with innovation and tech innovation. And as you can see, we've got 4 very distinguished speakers here, 2 of which are directly working in the sphere of agriculture and agriculture production, one in a more traditional area, but one definitely in the adaptation of technology and innovation. And with MDEC, hopefully you can give us a little bit insight with regards to what's happening in the adaptation of technology in the agricultural sphere. So without further ado, I'm going to invite each speaker to actually give us a little bit on their take with regards to sustainability in agriculture, food security, ensuring food security, and also with regards to what's happening in the technology sphere. So without further ado, I shall turn to Saikit, who is the founding director of Autumn Ventures, who has vast experience in terms of financing, in terms of the agri sector. So that, from your point of view, as an investor, what are you seeing and what are you feeling in the tech sphere now, or the growth sphere now, apart from the traditional agriculture that we have?
Thanks, Oi Ching. Right, you guys hear me okay, right? Or is it a bit muff? Anyway, keep my mask on. Right. I think I'm just going to focus on my view of venture investment, right? Because we are working with early stage companies, right? Just this morning we just took the opportunity to kind of announce that we are launching a pretty small by the regional standard, 50 million fund, focusing on new consumer to be exact, right? The thesis is essentially to work in areas where we are going to invest to empower the future of the next generation. Who are we talking about? It's basically the guys who are somewhere between 10 and 25. Right, these are the group who are going to be the economic driver in the future, and therefore we think it's high time for us to kind of address what we are facing today, right? Well, I think all the keywords have been mentioned countless times this morning, these past 2 years. So I'm not going to repeat that, right? Hopefully, with these new funds coming into place, we could actually spur a bit more participation, especially by the younger generation of entrepreneurs who came out from universities, right, to take on entrepreneurship, especially addressing the food, the material, right, really looking into how we could actually have a very sustainable way of living moving forward, right? So we're going to do a little bit as a baby step.
Thanks very much, Saikit. Next one I'll be asking is Eleanor, with regards to the Sunway X Farms. So how does Sunway X Farms approach ESG considerations or sustainability considerations in your operations, and what have you found as the major challenges?
Yeah, I mean, ESG is definitely close to our heart. And at Sunway, group wide, we have from a top down a very clear ESG compliance framework, which governs and provides guidance on the way our business operates. So this includes everything from coming up with best practices or raising awareness even amongst the organization on how to create benchmarking standards, measuring and reporting tools. But when we kind of like bring it down to the context of Sunway X Farms being an urban agriculture company, some of the major challenges that we still see today is that in this industry, there's still a lack of very clear benchmarking, for the right sustainable farming operations or production methods. And we see that, when we look at the industry, I think standardization of data sets is obviously, still a big challenge because, food production and food farming is still, very varied. We see new technologies each day. It's hard to compare one, apple to apple in that sense. So while, as an urban farm, we're, constantly working on improving efficiencies in our own farms, be it generating more yields and reducing wastage across different materials that we use. It's still, we find that, we an open dialogue on conversation on setting the right benchmarking standards is still really important for us to see the positive progress in this industry.
So are you foreseeing more from the sphere of interaction and discussions with government, such as what Mardi is doing in terms of research and in terms of improving agri-tech and also, in terms of seed production, new seed production? Would you hope that that's something that Mardi will be looking at?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're very aware that, a single player or just the private sector alone cannot, making that, impact. And working with the public sector has always been in our interest because they have that helicopter view across the industry, across nations in the region even. And so, even being able to exchange knowledge and exchange challenges that we face, would definitely be a step where we want to work towards.
Yeah, I think the other thing before I get to you, Anna, is we see so far the rise of urban farms, the use of aquaculture, hydroculture, aeroculture, which is basically the mist, and the rise of what I call industrial agriculture, which is basically looking at high-rise agricultural production processes, right? It's quite different from what you do in Henan, Anna. But in terms of this rise of this sort of production, and in a way, it is actually a very fast way of meeting our national food production from a vegetable point of view, as opposed to a meat protein point of view. Do you see that there are adequate information for you? Is that what you mean by lack of information with regards to benchmarking and production and all of that?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to this. One is the supply and one is the demand. And, when it comes to hydroponics or aeroponics, I think the technology has been around. We see it a lot from the West. It's available here in Malaysia as well. So, constantly improving the kind of crop yields and quality, but also addressing the kind of crops that I think Mardi shared earlier, what's lacking here in Malaysia. We're not at 100% self-sufficiency yet. Having that kind of data on what we ought to grow and research into, bringing it close to the consumers is something that's really important.
Yep.
But at the same time, market access, having the data on how to get it to the consumers. And that's really what food security is all about, right? Having reliable access to affordable food. And so those are some of the, obviously KPIs that we've set and we want to achieve, but we can do so much more with Mardi.
All right, thanks, Elena. So Anna, in relation to what you do at Henan, maybe you could explain to the wider audience a little bit what you do in Henan, which is basically in durian production, right?
Okay, Henan, we are a vertical integrated business that we do durian. Everything pertaining durian. We have our upstream, our plantation. We have our midstreams that we produce and freeze the durian for exports. And of course, process the durian paste for confectionery.
Right.
So we have our downstream as well, that we have our own factory that produces ice creams, cakes for exports. Yeah.
So you have the whole value chain in relation to durian?
Yeah, I think this is music to ear for the Well, yeah, for the VCs.
Site marketing office. Never mind. So the thing is, which is of interest, maybe to the general participants here and to the audience in general, how has Hernan addressed the issue? I won't talk about the full scope of the ESG or sustainability matters, but I think in December we all saw the flood, and even now in certain areas of Malaysia we're still experiencing flood. That's a symptom of climate change. Associated with too much water from flood, we've got lack of water. So how has Hernan been addressing these issues?
Okay, we are very different from the
Yeah.
urban farming, right? So what we did was actually a traditional farming.
Yes.
The cultivation was done many years ago. Plantations, I had plantations more than 35 years. So it's very challenging for me to educate the new cultivation method to those people who are doing it. But of course, I've been acquired by a private equity. So we are adopting this. It's something new. It's a culture shock for us to know about ESG and all these things, but we are doing our part now, being responsible over what should we do on responsible farmers, cultivations and what's not. Nevertheless, what I'm trying to say out here is we are doing our part slowly, but of course we are against deforestations and what has been doing.
Right.
So what we encourage is those people who already planted oil palm, if they want to do replantations, okay, we can come in, we can do this, but we try to avoid overdevelopment and destroying the forest.
Basically, reutilization of your existing durian plantations, replanting plan, and then take over a degraded land from previous agriculture and replant it with durian.
Add on, we have to actually educate those old school farmers. What is the correct method? How do we actually to avoid abuse of chemicals? How do we actually avoid pollutions to the rivers? And more so, we are doing part by part, but it's very hard for them to accept in one go.
Because traditionally that's the way it's been.
It's a balancing.
True. But one of the things that I find in agriculture and climate change and the relation with climate change is, the impacts come from a physical aspect. Like I said, too much water, too much heat, not enough water. What is the agricultural sector doing, from Sunway's perspective and from Hernan perspective to ensure that the viability of your product, which is basically your durian tree and your durian, the vegetables that you plant, are able to meet rising temperatures, let's say, for example, are hardy enough to tolerate lack of water. So basically looking at research and development, is that something that Sunway and Hernan is looking into, or Hernan is just beginning on his journey and something that needs to be addressed in future? Alena?
It's a good question, and so that's why when we started our journey, we really explored various different technologies that we could adopt in different kind of locations, addressing different objectives that we wanted. I think for those familiar with hydroponics, it literally uses nutrients in water form. And we do save about 90% less water compared to traditional farming. So, simply said, a kg of vegetables, a cabbage that's produced, we save 90% less water already because the system allows us to do so. And when it comes to natural sunlight, rising temperatures, I think that while we, there is a lot of merits as well, and a lot of crops still has to use traditional farming methods, relying on natural sunlight to grow. For us, we see the potential of indoor vertical farms, bringing farms into buildings, using horticulture grow lights to grow crops 365 days around, because only by diversifying the kind of farming systems that we have to grow different kind of crops can we improve the security, food security in urban areas where all the populations are. So for us, building vertical farms, obviously there are its energy challenges, but something that we're actively addressing and hoping to find more efficiencies in that space.
It's slightly easier for Eleanor, right? For durian, it's more difficult.
I mean, we always say that because fresh produce, our food cycle is a lot shorter, but fruits are,
I wish I can speak up, you speak so I can control with lights, remote control. We are depending with the mother nature. Of course, we are not stopping and giving ourselves excuse that, we can't. where we are living up to the what the actual sunlight and climate telling us. Yeah, we are using drone. We are putting up the IoT to study big data, to know what we can avoid, what we can do to help our cultivation. But still ongoing. The technology doesn't end today. We are ongoing, doing a lot of research. We work very well closely with Mardi in terms of fruit preservative as well. I mean, fruit extension. Yeah, we open up our factory to welcome Mardi to come in to use our facilities to help us to give us an answer. We are using our team to deploy down, work with the agrologists, get a lot of data, what kind of rain that can tarnish our cultivation and all. Actually, okay, I have to admit, I'm not a farmer. I'm just a durian exporter. I produce products, but actually it's my responsibility because I'm the CEO. So I have to go down. Yeah, I'm on hills now, but when you see me on a normal day, I'm on my farm with my boots to study what are the costs and what is my responsibility, to preserve our mother nature's, our children's future. So this is part, I think, what I can do on the baby steps. Yeah.
That's very good to hear, Anna. Thank you for that. And thank you for leading to Navin, which is basically from MDEC and looking at what sort of technology has been developed in that regard to help our farmers in Malaysia. Over to you, Navin.
Well, it's always tough to be the last speaker because they expect more. But yeah, quick one. My name is Navin. MDEC stands for Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation, a government agency under the purview of KCOM, Ministry of Communications and Multimedia Malaysia. So the topic today is about agriculture ESG. Let me give you a very simple context here. So we have a program called E-Ladang. In Malay, in English, it's called Digital AgTech, Agriculture Technology. We look at two parts. Number one, we do a lot of pilot projects in the space of IoT, big data, drones, artificial intelligence for farmers to increase productivity with one important factor, which is environmental. Previously, or perception, you need to have tractor to plow the land, to use thermometers to measure the soil moisture, temperature, which leads to carbon emission. Right now, you have real-time data sensors that tells you how much to water, how much to spray pesticides, which actually governs environmental. Number one. Number two, doing pilots, is that enough? Not at all. We need to train more and more farmers, which is what we do together with our partners. Thanks for Mardi as well. We train a lot of farmers in terms of how to use technology, which comes to the second part, which is social. Social means not removing workers away. No. It's about transforming existing workers to become digitally skilled. You do not need to carry, if I can use the word, chankol all the time. You can use iPads to control all that from wherever you are. The last one, governance. Whatever we do collaboratively is so that we have a central top-down approach. Right now, like Christine mentioned correctly earlier, red light, I know it's in traffic light based, but we are having food security concerns globally. How can we all work together collaboratively so that we can deliver potential impact at scale? Governance.
All right, thanks very much, Navin. I think from a government perspective, and I suppose that also needs to be addressed by Mardi. If you look at farming in Malaysia, plantations, we've got it well covered. We are very well, very productive. Some plantations can even go to 3.5 yields per year. It's the smallholders that have an issue with regards to the paddy farmers, the vegetable farmers, and the application of technology is difficult because you're talking about one piece of land here, one piece of land there. So how do you see the way forward, in that, and also, from ATEM's perspective, if they were looking for potential investments and all, they want one big contiguous piece of land in food production, unless of course we can move it indoors, right? So that it's, like what they do in the West with the soybean farmers and all, it's one shot production, you can monitor easy, you can see easily where there's shortfall in production, and you also get that in durian because it's one contiguous. But for our smallholders, that's not possible. So what is MDEC doing about that?
So there's two questions to this, right? So number one, how are we addressing adoption among smallholders? Very true. 2017, I'm not going to be diplomatic, I'm going to be very truthful. 2017, you talk about technology to a farmer with 1-2 acres land, he'll say, no need lah, I have my workers on the ground, no need. I'm already doing fine. Then came COVID, right? COVID is a challenge to many of us, in fact, all of us. But COVID was also a lesson learned and eye-opener to us, because now farmers are able to control their land from wherever they are. During lockdown, farmers called MDEC, many of them, friends, family called and said, Naveen, I don't have money to buy milk powder. And I'm not doing this for the sake of emotional or whatsoever, but they are not able to go to the farm to water, to spray, which actually spoils their crop. They don't have incomes at all. But with technology, they are able to do that now. And the cost of technology, perception-wise, wow, hundreds of thousands for 1-2 acres land, wrong. I'm to take it from an agency perspective. We have piloted solutions below 20,000 ringgit. Can a farmer afford it? Yes, he can. Why? Let me tell you. So far, as of 2021, we have completed 15 pilot projects: chili plantation, chicken poultry, fisheries, pineapple, green vegetable, urban farming, together with inspired by X farms. Actually, a lot of projects done. And I can tell you right now, a chili farmer who has adopted technology is now able to earn 2,000 ringgit extra every month per acre. So 20,000 ringgit solution to a farmer, is he ready? He is. Answer number 2. Before this, if you go to your kid, your children, and tell them, son, daughter, when you study, be a farmer, he will look at you and say, look, something's wrong with you. Right now, you tell them, be a farmer, fly a drone. Oh yes, Dad, I will do it. What interests younger generation is technology, right? Not the best techs in the world, but technology. A smartphone entices them. Yeah, so technology. To answer you that, 2017, whether we have startups who wants to do agriculture, a handful. Now we have, I would say, too much of handful, in fact, right? A lot. The 15 projects that we did, 60% of that were from startups, local Malaysian startups. Yep.
That's really good to hear, Navin. So that's really hopeful for Malaysian food production and Malaysian food security in that sense. So let's move forward a little bit, in talking about the whole sector as in general, in looking at technology, sustainability, and all. In terms of in view of what we've been hearing, we've got climate impact, we've got lack of manpower, we've adoption of technology. Maybe I could start with Anna. What sort of business strategies will you be looking at as in your journey towards being more sustainable and ensuring the sustainability of your business, and also in view of the various headwinds that we sort of touch about? What sort of business strategy will you be? What business strategy will you be considering? Taking into consideration environmental impact. And just before you start, I mean, agriculture is very unique. It sits in between. It sits at the cusp of environmental impact, social impact, definitely both equally affected. Governance structures, definitely, with regards to, if you talk about big corporations, but even if you talk about the lone farmer, he also has to think about many things, the people that I employ, the environment, my water conditions, and all of that. So taking into consideration both the social and environmental impact issues, what sort of business strategy will you be charting as you move forward?
This is a very tough question. If you really ask on a perspective of investors, profit is what I'm looking at if you want to strategize my business. But I know the role that we have to play. If we don't start now, there won't be a future for our kids. So I would say my strategies have to come in step by step. Yeah, of course, I have to hear what are the current trends. Yeah, we hear from the millennials and Gen Z that they want to eat things. They don't want to feel guilty over the food that we're eating. So if I'm on the positions on the manufacturer, I should go towards these directions. I should develop products, on their needs, because I think the trend is coming in. Yeah, we shouldn't deny the demand for this, even though the cost is going to be high. So we have to adapt. Slowly, we will compromise on our profit, but we have to actually slowly pass down to the consumer. So I have to accept that the new generations, they want to see the ingredients that they eat. It must be guiltiness. So they, we talk to our buyer, yeah, when they want to select products, they're very sensitive with the ingredient. So looking at it, I think my strategy will work towards the market demand, also play a role in our ESG to comply, and also working for the future.
Yep.
So we play all in together, and the balancing has to come in.
Thanks very much, Anna. I'm very glad that you brought the fact that your investors will be your key driver. There has been certain happenings in the region, in Malaysia and Singapore, where our central banks have actually required our financial systems to start reporting on their climate impact, right? And this affects both the banking sector, the insurance sector, and the asset management sector. So what will happen as we move forward, and there's a very strong possibility of that happening, is that access to capital and cost of capital will increase if you're not able to demonstrate good ESG performance. And that, of course, the definition of good ESG performance still remains to be sorted out between the bank and the target company or their customer. So these are things which we see, and these are already things which has impacted the Europeans, rising in North America and all, and Australia is also rising, and in certain parts of Asia we see that coming, that level of understanding, and with Malaysia and Singapore having adopted these requirements, it will soon impact our market, and definitely consumer requirements, which is basically the young generation. That is something that obviously we need to tailor and cater for, because they are our future markets, right? So in from that perspective, from a Sunway perspective, right, addressing ESG is one thing. Addressing climate change and meeting the needs of your investors is I would say paramount. So what has been your strategy moving forward, both from an environmental and social perspective?
Yeah, so in contrary to Anna and I think the more of the traditional farming challenges that we face, for us, sustainability, environmental and social is actually completely aligned with our business goals, and that means as an indoor vertical farm, that's how we plan to scale in the near future. Energy consumption is obviously one of the biggest challenges, and also one of our biggest OPEX. If we are able to just completely find more efficiencies and innovations and technologies that could help us to reduce the amount of energy usage to grow a single head of plant or a single kg of a certain produce, that immediately aligns both with sustainability goals, reducing carbon footprint, at the same time reducing our costs. And so for us, it's kind of ingrained in the way we do our business, that we're constantly working with the local players here in Malaysia. I think when we talk about energy efficiency, we see a lot of this in like manufacturing, oil and gas, smart buildings even, but not many research has been done in smart farming. And how can we leverage on the local expertise and industry players to help create, really interesting, innovative solutions? And that's where, we want to have that kind of open collaborative, dialogue again with them.
Yeah, well, for a lot of manufacturers, the adoption of combined heat and power plants, have come in, and I think that's very suitable for vertical farming, urban farming. For I like the contrast that we have here. We've got the modern, agriculture, the way forward, so to say, and yet we still have the land-dependent products and produce, which are still very much our society and the market still relies on. And if you look at durian plantations, and if you look at palm oil plantations, they are still very much holding up our economic development from an agricultural perspective. So it's interesting that there are two contrasting set of issues that we have to deal with, and two contrasting sets of data that we have to collect, I suppose. So from an investor point of view, so you're not off that so easy, psychic. So from an investor perspective, right, looking at the business strategies, right, and looking at from a traditional agricultural point of view, and then looking at the new way forward, so to say, in terms of agricultural technology development, what will be your key priority if you were to look at their business strategies?
I think as I kind of shared, right, we are focusing on investing in early stage companies. So I think in that sense, we look at ESG from bottom up, right? In a sense that we can't really like impose top down what a large conglomerate is expected to do when it comes to ESG, data measurement, the audit, and all that, right? So what I have actually devised is to basically introduce a pretty simple self-assessment framework, so that then, on an annual basis or even before we invest, we get the startup to kind of measure, right, where do they stand in terms of all these aspects. Yeah. Well, I think over time we will improve upon it, right? It's basically, whatever they do, are they aware of their, it's all about awareness over here, right? So that's quite important. Then the idea is that, as they grow, right, to become more successful, like Anna's company or even Someway, they are being introduced from ground up at the very early stage. So then there's a lot more educational perspective, awareness. I think that's where our approach is, right? Now, when it comes to, generally in terms of what are we trying to achieve with regards to ESG, essentially, our overarching evaluation is about, sustainability, which links to, are we going to enable the next generation to enjoy what we are enjoying today, right? I think a play with the same word is also, are we doing something now to regenerate? Yeah, are we able to kind of regenerate whatever that we have consumed? So all these things about ESG are all about all these, right? These two basic questions. Next generation, can we regenerate? If we achieve all this, right, be it while we are consuming resources, while we are emitting greenhouse gas or whatnot, well, so long as we can balance it, right, and of course, to achieve negative carbon, for instance, I think we are okay, on the right track, right? So well, that's our take of it.
Okay. Sounds like Artem is promoting circularity in thinking, circular economy and all of that.
We can't run away from it.
Yeah. Okay. So in that regard, right, for, I suppose in Eleanor, in X Farms, you've been doing that. Have you all been looking at circular economy and the circular economy?
Yeah, for
Water,
sure.
definitely, right?
I mean, my team is, consists of a very young team. Half of them or more
Very
than
excited.
majority are, urban millennials,
Yeah.
and it's ingrained in their lifestyle and their mindset that we need to be sustainable. It's more than just a checklist that they look at every day, and so hence, I think every throughout our work operations, reduce and reuse is always something that we emphasize a lot on. How can we reduce anything, right? From water to single-use plastics to raw materials that we use? How can we grow more with less? At the same time, when we're reusing things as well, we do work with a couple of local education institutes, university partners, where we're researching how can we turn the additional, some of the surplus that we have of food wastage after we do the quality control process, how can we turn those into fertilizers to grow plants again?
Well, we have rising costs of fertilizers.
Yeah. So something that we, with our agronomist team are actively looking at to how can we create our own fertilizers using recycled products. And I was just having a conversation with one of the local players as well on how they turn actually the waste from rubber into like serums for plants that can be applied to both traditional and hydroponics methods. So yeah, we're super excited to look at that.
That being said, I mean, we all must recognize that when we do business, it is also about the business of profitability. We don't enter into something for the feel good and for the sake of being green, right? And we have seen that in the rise of greenwashing as scrutiny on companies, have increased. And so in terms of ensuring profitability of the business, what Anna says is very true. We have to make sure we make money. If not, we can't pay our people, and we can't actually generate indirect benefits to the local economy, so to say. So how has Sunway Farms X-Farms being able to do that in that sphere, in generating benefits to the local economy as well as in ensuring profitability of your business.
Yeah, for me, again, that aligns really well because the more we can use our wastage or wastage for any other industry and turn it into something that is so key to our yields and productions, which is then our, our ROI. For us, if we can turn more waste into gold, then the more we benefit as a business, the more we can pass on that cost saving customers. So yeah, in a lot of ways, throughout our, when we look at our CAPEX and our OPEX, a lot of the sustainability goals are completely aligned with how we can, improve on profitability.
I think for X-Farms is probably easier. For Hernan, it's probably more complex, except with regards to your manufacturing side. Because if I think about making durian cakes, I think of all those durian shells that you have prime for turning into other products, right?
Okay. This is something very interesting, which we are, from Hernan's perspective, we are looking into zero waste.
Yeah.
But how do we do? This is not our forte. It's not our expertise because what we do, what we are good at. So, but that's not an excuse. So something I want to share. I just signed an MOU with UPM yesterday that we will be collaborating. We will be sponsoring the professors or the academic to come up with something. How can we churn out from our waste, from our seeds that we don't use, that we will be discard, and the husk. We have been observing on the media that Singapore NTU is coming out from the husk converted into the plaster. Or they also has actually proposed that they can convert the husk into biodegradable containers. This is something so interesting, but commercialization comes in, right?
That's where they come in, right? Yeah.
If the cost is so expensive, and how can we adopt into it? But this is something, it's like chicken neck story again. But when I was walking before the event starts, I was passing by, there's a little corner from Taylor's. So interesting. Chempedak seeds convert into spread. So this is something that we have to encourage the young generations to be creative, to be innovative, that can enlighten us in an immediate answer, rather than we put so much research and we are not encouraging that. Profitably aside, but not totally, but we have to adopt and start to do something.
So, the concept of impact investing, impact assessments, and looking at younger generation, looking at what they can do. I think we have a crop. The younger generation that's coming up has been very, very excited, very innovative, and they've got a totally different sense of environmental preservation, environmental conservation, and the social return that needs to be wrought from each of our enterprises. So Navin, do you find that fitting aligned with what you're doing in MDEC?
I have to say very much aligned, right?
Something good, right?
like all of you said, someone's waste is the other's wealth. Yeah. For example, so before this, we eat everything, whatever we can get, we eat. But post-pandemic, all of us became very health conscious. We started eating more organic-based vegetables, although it was more expensive. But yes, back on circular economy, I'll give you a very simple context. Yeah, aquaponics. If you go to the small tanks, I think you can see them some around. So the waste of the fishes or the prawns, whatever is in the tank right there, becomes the fertilizer for the vegetables, which actually serves as an organic. That's just one. Number two, if you look around, there are some companies who does practice black soldier flies. These are not flies, huh? These are larvae, yeah? So whatever food that we throw in the dustbin, these larvae converts them to fertilizers for any crops, including durian too.
Yep.
So it's not always about technology.
That's one idea for
That's one idea. In
right?
fact, the company's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are so many, just that we have not walked yet. There are so many technologies available such. Speaking back about Psykit, whatever we do, example, we work with a lot of companies, yeah? For a company perspective, yes, they want to do something for the nation, but for them, it's about profit, yeah? So that's why when we do all these technologies based on problem statement, converting waste to fertilizer, using technology, using real-time data, someone has to validate those technology. We do. Recently, Ministry of Agriculture, known as MIFB, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industries Malaysia, launched a program called Modernization Program of Agro-Food Value Chain, where MDAC is the strategic appointed partner for any form of digital agriculture technology validator. So what we do, number one, giving an avenue for companies, startups to come and try your solutions. Number two, based on the data from the pilots, then we can go back to example Psychic and say, this company will be profitable in 3 years' time based on the data or
So
production
you
they get.
use them to scale up your technology?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Now, all the pilots, doing pilots, are they enough? No. These pilots that you see, if all of you all log on to your phone right now, type in program modernisasi rantaian nilai agro makanan negara, you will see there. This is to promote ready piloted solutions by MDAC and our ecosystem partners. The total allocation for this is 60 million ringgit by AgroBank. Is to encourage more innovations with key focus on ESG. Environmental, like I say, social means not removing workers away, transforming them digitally, and governance, a top-down approach. Like I said, we cannot do this alone, right? If you want to work for the many, we have to work with the many too, right? So we welcome collaborations.
All right, thanks, Navin. So as a wrap up, we've got less than 5 minutes left. Maybe I just go around. Psychic, any last words for the participants and for any budding venture into agricultural production now, using new technology or whatever?
I think we kind of covered quite a bit of grounds, right? One thing that perhaps, as a parting words, is to perhaps address this issue about accessibility to equipment, technology, and whatnot. I think let's not forget about what the recent 2 decades of internet investment taught us, right? Grab, Airbnb, and all that is basically crowdsourced resources on a sharing economy basis, right? What is stopping us from actually taking those ideas and apply it into agriculture sector, right? In terms of maybe high tech tractors or whatnot. And I got to know of one guy in Malaysia thinking about perhaps addressing this different harvest cycle of agricultural land from north to south, right? And basically cycle through this equipment on the rental basis, lease basis, right? Well, that's one way to make it a bit more inclusive, right? For the smaller plant owners, right? Or even layering over this kind of technology with some fintech on top of it, right?
Very high carbon footprint.
Well, at the end,
win some, lose some, right?
well, it's all about balance, you know.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's about striking the balance. Otherwise, right? We are saying that we are worried about food being the main source of carbon gas emission. Then what are we going to do? Stop eating? No,
That's
we have
very
to be
true.
real, right?
Yeah. So, Eleanor, very quickly, any last words?
Yeah, I think food security and ESG is obviously a very, very long-term journey. I'm sure Anna would know it takes years to produce fruit. For us, it's a bit shorter, but it is still a wait.
Yeah.
And when I talk about agriculture, I think a lot about perseverance. And for us to even achieve not just agriculture goals, but ESG goals, it is a really long-term process that we need to, only by collaborating, sharing knowledge, working together to change consumer mindsets and work production flows, changing industry practices, can we see, much more positive and quicker acceleration for, process in this space.
So collaboration is the key then. Anna?
Okay, we have to recognize that today the topic that the sustainability must take place anytime now. Yeah, like it or not, we all know our next generation are crying for a better world. Yeah, let's do something. I will put our profitability aside, not so much, but we have to consider what we have to build for them. And let's not wait for the government to come up with policies and initiatives to move. On the private sector, we have a role to play. Let's do this together and I would say, on a bite size, and to have this promote and to let everybody to understand what we have to do, and without further delay, stop destroying and work on a better world.
Thanks, Anna. Navin?
I got 1 minute to go. All right.
No, you got less than that because I need to close up.
If you look at harvesting the impact of ESG for a better prosperity, better livelihood, digital is the way to stay, right? Digital was an option before, now it's rather mandatory. But like I said, when we pledge about being truly Malaysia digital, it's about not one person, not an entity, it's about us, all of us here, everyone across the globe working together, because end of the day, food is for the many. Yeah. So if you want to work to the many, work with the many, end of the day, it's for the many. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Navin. Nicely put. I think with that, I draw a conclusion to our panel session. I think we touched on many aspects with regards to sustainability in the agricultural sector. It's not an easy subject because for X farms, hydroponic new technology is shorter term as compared to what's in the ground. And so there are difficulties, there are challenges, and as long as has been said, we work together and we pool together our resources, I think we should be able to achieve many wondrous things as we adapt and change towards the impact of climate change and societal needs and society issues that are plaguing us now at the present moment. So with that, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you especially to our moderator, Ms. Oi Cheng. Thank you to our panelists. We'd like to invite our panelists back to their seats. Thank you so much for your time. And indeed, we had a very insightful discussion regarding the real change maker, cultivating agri-food security and sustainability with innovative agri-food tech. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our panel discussion here today. Now we'd like to invite Mr. James once again on stage, as he would like to share a few things before we end today's agenda.
Mic test. All right. Thanks for your time, but just ask you to hold on to your seat for a while before we move into the networking, and where you can take the conversation to in a casual moment, all right, in a casual fashion. I just thought that it is very encouraging to note, the challenges that you have in Malaysia, and also the many initiatives that you have put in place, both from the government side and also from the public side, and also from the community sector. So I think all these components, when you come together, will really unite a movement, and that's where real changes will take place. Yes, I do agree that we should not wait too much from the government sector. While they do their work, the communities must start this momentum as well, right? So I need to sell a bit of goyok because my team from Singapore and my colleagues in Malaysia has put this event together for the many past months, and I just want to take time to recognize them and put you in touch with them. For this event that is going to take place from 26th to 28th of October, we have brought together many technologies that will be showcased from countries like from Germany, Netherlands, France, etc. I think what we are still missing is a spot from Malaysia, and I hope that you can take action, participate in the event by exhibiting or by visiting the event, all right? We have many sessions like this at the event, and we have invited many VCs, entrepreneurs, young people, as well as industry leaders from all over the world to Singapore, all right? So I urge you to buy a ticket, okay? Be part of our hosted buyers program, where we will host you for air travel as well as for hotel accommodations. If you need more information, my colleagues at the back and myself will be able to provide you more information with this, all right? So thank you very much for your time.
I'm very sure the session in Singapore will be very, very informative and, of course, beneficial for you as well. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to give a token of appreciation to everyone who participated here today. And Mr. James will be distributing the token of appreciation. And first of all, we'd like to appreciate our guest of honor, Dr. Masniza Sairi, Deputy Director, Engineering Research Center, ER, Malaysian Agriculture Research and Development Institute, Maradi, to receive the token of appreciation. Can you please give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to invite our speaker up as well, who is the founder and chief executive officer for Thoughtful Food Foundation, Ms. Christine Gold. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank our moderator for today, who is the Executive Director, Sustainability, KPMG Malaysia, Ms. Pang Oi Cheng. And of course, our panels, ladies and gentlemen, first is Mr. Ng Sai Kik, Founding Director of AFTEA Ventures. Next, we've got the Chief Operations Officer from Sunway X Farms, Ms. Eleanor Chong. Next to receive the token of appreciation is Ms. Anna Teo, Co-Founder and Group Chief Executive Officer from Henan Corporation, Sdn Bhd. And our next recipient is the head of AgTech, Sectorial Pilots and Drone Tech, Ecosystem Development Division, Malaysia Digital Economic Corporation, Sdn Bhd MDEC, Mr. Navin Sina Thambi. Thank you very much, Mr. James. With that, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our formal program for Agri-Food Tech Expo Malaysia Ag-Volution for the Future Malaysia. So to our guests, ladies and gentlemen who are watching virtually, thank you very much for watching as well. And of course, I hope that you'll find today's session very informative and of course, provoking and meaningful. For our guests, we'd like to join you, us all in person, to actually go around and enjoy the delectable canopies and beverages for the networking session, which will be starting shortly right at the back. And of course, we hope to see all of you at the Agri-Food Tech Expo Asia 2022 in Singapore at Sands Expo and Convention Center from the 26th to the 28th of October. So please do register yourself, or you could go register yourself, at agrifoodtechexpo.com or via the QR here, as you can see on the screens. So ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joshua, and have a good day and have a pleasant 2022.